The man at the front desk handed me 2 room keys by mistake, then quietly asked for the second one back after noticing the room number. I remember that because his whole expression changed the second he looked down at the cards in my hand. He'd been acting normal before that. Tired night shift energy, barely looking up from the monitor, hotel lobby TV playing some muted basketball game behind him. Then he saw the extra key card and immediately reached across the counter saying, "Sorry, that one's inactive." But he said it too fast, like he didn't want me reading the number. I already had though. Room 418. My actual room was 412. I handed the extra card back without thinking much about it, grabbed my luggage, and headed upstairs. This was outside Tulsa, Oklahoma, during a work trip in February last year. Cheap business hotel near the interstate, 4 floors. Mostly construction workers and overnight travelers staying there. Nothing unusual. At least not at first. The elevator smelled faintly like cigarette smoke and bleach. I remember because the cleaning smell got stronger on the 4th floor, like they'd recently mopped something. My room sat near the ice machine at the end of the hallway. Room 412, directly across from 418. That detail mattered later. When I got to my door, I noticed a strip of blue painter's tape stuck low on room 418's frame. No writing on it, just a small piece folded over itself. I probably wouldn't even remember it if everything afterward hadn't happened. Inside my room, things looked normal except for one weird detail. The TV was already on. Static channel. No sound. I shut it off, tossed my bag down, showered, answered some work emails, and eventually tried sleeping around midnight. Then, maybe 20 minutes later, somebody knocked once on my door. Not pounding, just one knock. I assumed maybe housekeeping messed up the room assignment, or another guest had the wrong door. I checked the peephole. Nobody there. Empty hallway. But room 418's door across from me stood slightly open now, maybe 3 inches. I'm positive it had been shut earlier. Light from inside spilled into the hallway corridor. I remember debating whether to say something, because honestly, my brain immediately jumped to a fair situation or somebody drunk and careless. Before I decided, the door slowly closed on its own. Not slammed, just eased shut. I went back to bed telling myself not to turn a normal hotel into a horror movie in my head. Then around 1:30 a.m. my room phone rang. The old landline beside the bed. I answered half asleep expecting front desk or a wake-up mistake. Nobody spoke. I could hear movement though, not static. Soft rustling, then what sounded like breathing through fabric. After maybe 10 seconds the line disconnected. I checked caller ID on the phone screen. It simply displayed 418. I stared at it long enough that I finally called the front desk myself. Same clerk answered. I told him somebody from 418 called my room without speaking. Silence on his end for a second too long. Then he said, "Just ignore it if it happens again." That response woke me up more than the call itself. I asked what that meant. He said maybe kids playing with the room phones. I reminded him this was a business hotel at 1 in the morning. Then he lowered his voice slightly and said, "Sir, did you open your door at any point tonight?" I told him no. Another pause. Then he said, "Okay, keep it locked." Before I could ask anything else, the line disconnected completely. I tried calling back immediately. No answer this time. Around then I started feeling genuinely uneasy. Not terrified yet, just wrong. I checked the hallway again through the peephole. Empty. But the blue painter's tape was gone from room 418's doorframe now. I know that sounds insignificant. It bothered me anyway, because I had nothing else to focus on. Then I noticed something else. My own doorknob had a faint wet smear on it. Like somebody touched it with damp fingers. I wiped it off automatically, before realizing I should probably not touch random substances at 2 a.m. in a roadside hotel. I stayed awake another hour watching TV quietly, before eventually drifting off. The next thing I remember is my phone vibrating beside me at 3:12 a.m. with a work email. Notification. Except the notification wasn't from work. It was a photo message from an unknown number. The image showed my hotel room door from the hallway outside, time-stamped 1 minute earlier. I sat upright instantly. Another image arrived before I could react. Same hallway angle. My door slightly open this time, but I knew for a fact it was locked because I checked it twice after the phone call. Then a third image came through. Dark, blurry interior shot aimed toward my bed. Me asleep under the blankets. I honestly stopped breathing for a second looking at it. The angle looked wrong, too low to the ground, like the camera was near the floor. I jumped out of bed and turned every light on in the room. Closet empty, bathroom empty. Nothing under the bed except my suitcase. Door still latched from inside. While checking the room, I realized the bathroom vent fan was running even though I never turned it on. I shut it off. Immediately afterward, I heard movement above the ceiling, quick shifting noise, then silence. I grabbed my shoes and wallet because at that point I fully intended to leave. But before opening the door, I checked the peephole again. Somebody stood outside room 418. Now, tall man wearing hotel maintenance clothes, gray work shirt. Looking downward, completely motionless. I watched him for maybe 15 seconds, waiting for him to move. He never did. Then room 418's door opened inward, and he stepped inside without knocking. The door shut behind him. I called the front desk again, immediately. No answer. I tried for my cell too, straight to voicemail. That's when I finally called 911. I explained. Somebody sent photos of me sleeping inside my locked hotel room, and there was suspicious activity across the hall. The dispatcher took it seriously, surprisingly fast, once I mentioned unknown entry and surveillance photos. She told me officers were nearby and asked me to stay inside the room. While on the call, I heard something metallic outside my door. Soft scraping. Then the sound of a keycard failing repeatedly. Beep, pause, beep, beep. Like somebody trying multiple cards. The dispatcher heard it through my phone and asked if that noise came from my room door. I whispered yes, then it stopped. Complete silence again. A few seconds later, my hotel room phone rang for the second time. Same landline. I didn't answer. It rang 6 times exactly, stopped, then immediately started again. I unplugged it from the wall. Still rang once more before dying completely. I know how impossible that sounds. Police arrived maybe 8 minutes later. Longest 8 minutes of my life, honestly. I heard officers outside identifying themselves before finally opening the door. 2 Tulsa PD officers checked my room first while another knocked on 418. No response. The door was locked. One officer went downstairs for hotel management while the other stayed with me in the hallway. That's when I noticed the carpet outside my room looked damp near the baseboards. Thin streaks leading toward the stairwell, almost like water trails. Management eventually came up with a master key. Room 418 opened into complete darkness. No luggage, no occupants. Bare room. But the bed had been stripped entirely except for the mattress. Bathroom mirror cracked across one corner, and sitting on the desk beside the unplugged television was a small digital camera still powered on. One officer picked it up carefully using gloves. The gallery contained dozens of hallway photos, mostly guests entering or leaving rooms, some sleeping through partially open curtains, different dates over several months. Then they found pictures of me from earlier that night, me carrying my suitcase upstairs, me unlocking room 412, me asleep in bed from inside my room somehow. The officers asked if I'd allowed anyone entry. Obviously no. Then one officer noticed the air vent above the bathroom sink hanging slightly lower than normal. He dragged the desk chair over and looked inside with his flashlight. His expression changed immediately. There's a crawl space up here. The hotel had a maintenance access passage connecting ventilation and utility sections above several fourth-floor rooms. Tight but navigable. Officers later found blankets, empty food, containers, chargers, and hotel key cards hidden inside the space above room 418. Whoever stayed there apparently moved through ceiling access panels into occupied rooms after guests fell asleep. Security footage from the hotel made things even stranger. Cameras repeatedly lost signal between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. over the past 3 months. During outages, certain room doors appeared opened afterward, despite electronic logs showing no registered keycard access, including mine. According to the system, my room door never unlocked after I entered for the night. Yet those photos existed. While officers reviewed footage downstairs, I sat in the lobby wrapped in a blanket because apparently shock makes you cold. The front desk clerk avoided eye contact almost the entire time. Eventually, one officer pulled him aside privately. After maybe 10 minutes, they brought him over to speak with me. Turns out this wasn't the first complaint involving room 418. Several guests previously reported strange calls from that room, despite it officially being listed vacant for maintenance. One woman claimed she woke up to find her suitcase moved beside the door. Another reported hearing footsteps above her ceiling around 3 a.m. nightly. The clerk admitted management instructed staff not to rent rooms near 418 if occupancy stayed low. I asked why they hadn't contacted police earlier. He said they did once, but no one was found during inspection. The crawlspace access panel had been screwed shut from below by the time officers arrived. Then came the part that really bothered me. Around 5 a.m., another officer reviewing exterior cameras noticed someone leaving through the rear service exit approximately 4 minutes before police entered the 4th floor. The person wore a gray maintenance uniform and carried a black duffel bag, face hidden under a hood. They walked calmly across the parking lot and entered a white shuttle van marked with the hotel logo. According to management, that van had been out of service for weeks due to transmission problems. Yet there it was on camera driving away at 3:29 a.m. Police circulated still images but never identified the person. The hotel claimed the maintenance uniform didn't match any employee records. I thought that would be the end of it. I checked out immediately after giving statements and moved to another hotel across town. Around noon that same day, while waiting for new room keys, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. No voice, just muffled movement for several seconds. Then the sound of a television playing static. Underneath it, faintly, a man whispered, "Wrong room." I deleted the message instantly. Later that evening, a detective called updating me about the case. He mentioned officers discovered something else inside the crawl space after daylight inspection. Written directly above the vent leading into my room, in black marker across the concrete ductwork, were the words, "Stay awake after 300." How? I asked if they found fingerprints or DNA. The detective hesitated before saying they recovered partial prints from the digital camera. Most belonged to hotel staff from handling lost property over time. But one set matched a man arrested years earlier for breaking into occupied homes while victims slept. He worked briefly as a hotel contractor before disappearing after violating parole. Last known address, a motel outside Amarillo, Texas, room 418.